Creating content is a complete waste of time for most busy entrepreneurs, but there's a lot of conflicting BS advice out there that will tell you the opposite. And that's why you probably never have enough time to create content. You can never create enough content to grow consistently. So today I'm going to show you a new way to create less content, spend less time, and still generate more views, leads, and sales for your business. Let's get into it. Now, why is content creation a waste of time? It sounds a little bit stupid, right? Because there's a lot of benefits to content. This has tremendous benefits for business owners in terms of generating leads, in terms of being able to generate reciprocity, build trust, all these good things that comes with having a strong brand and having content out there promoting your business. But the problem is, if you're spending all your time creating content, as many people would like you to believe that you have to do, you're not spending time on your business. And yeah, you can post as much content as you like to, but if your business is burning, if you don't have time for anything else, the whole unit won't grow. Not sufficiently, at least. Because content is a lot more difficult today than it was a couple years ago. A couple years ago, you just post a little bit and you'll be good. But right now, there's so much saturation. There's so much competitiveness on the market. And there's a lot of good quality content out there because the barrier to entry has just decreased so much that the amount of content you need to post and the quality of content you need is more than what you can just do with a little bit of time, a little bit of effort on the side. You really need to put a lot of energy into it, or have a lot of skills, or have a team behind you. Which is why people will then lead you to believe that you just need to do more in order to beat those people and in order to stand out. And there's some truth to that. But at some point, you can't do anymore. You can't reinvent the day. You can't put in more hours in a day. But what if there was a different way to actually get the results and get all the benefits of content without having to create tons of content every day? All the benefits, or most of the benefits, or maybe even more benefits, but only a fraction of the effort. I actually think that there is, because most people think about content in symmetrical input and output. I want to get 10 videos, I have to create 10 videos. If I want to then double my output and get 20 videos, I have to create 20 videos. So you will always be doing things symmetrically. There will never be an outsized return on the input, on the time and effort you put into creating content. And that's why most people will never be able to scale consistently without feeling like they're running themselves into the mud. Now, if you then swap out creating content one for one with a more leveraged approach to content, a more leveraged format where you can put in the same amount of time and effort, and instead of getting one piece of content out of it, you might be getting 10, 20, 30 or 40 or 50 pieces out of it. And that format is called live content. Now, this is not for the faint of heart, but when you replace content creation with live content, things become a lot easier, because you can go live and you can focus on getting sales live, almost like a webinar, a free one, because people can just join in. But also you will be able to create content live and then leverage that content to post it later on. So you kind of get two birds with one stone. But the thing about creating content live is that if you don't know what you're talking about, you shouldn't be doing it, because you will get caught out pretty quickly. But if you are a real expert, if you're good at what you do, you can probably talk about the things that you do for hours, especially if you have people asking you questions and all you got to do is solve their problems live. That's pretty easy for you. You do it for a living, most likely. But when it then comes to creating content, you get into this mode of having to create content, and you're scripting content, and you're sitting there, you're reading your script and batch recording 30 reels at a time, and people can feel the underlying intent in the way you're creating content, the underlying intent in the fact that you're just creating your content in order to do your CTA, hoping to grow your business, because you probably don't like batch recording 30 reels at a time. And it's not that effective. I mean, it's better than not doing it. But when you think about it, you're not doing anything more high leverage. You're just batching effort. But when you're doing live content, when you're live with your audience, it allows you to be in that state of just coaching or consulting or just helping people out, just talking about the things you probably like to talk about the most. And that allows you to be in a free state where you can make authentic content and actually provide value live. And then you can afterwards go and take that content and turn it into engaging content for whatever platform you're trying to grow. And it's very effective. It works tremendously, and I'm gonna throw it out so I can give you a little bit more of a visual representation of how effective it is and what you can actually get out of it if you intend to start live streaming. Because if you think about it, right, one reel, let's say you want to create more reels, one reel maybe it's 30 seconds, but it doesn't take 30 seconds to create. Most likely it takes maybe closer to an hour, because you're looking for the idea, you're setting up to record, you're then recording, or you're then writing your script, and then you record the video, and then you send it to your editor maybe. But it takes a lot more time than it has to do. It has to be. Same with if you're doing a YouTube video. A 30-minute YouTube video for most people is more like a 45-minute recording, plus setting up the camera, plus writing the script, all of this stuff. Now it's more than an hour. But if you're doing these things live, that extra time spent is spent with your audience. It's not spent with things that doesn't necessarily give you any return on your investment of time. So that 30-second reel, maybe it's just a 30-second answer to a question that you might get live. And it's much more easy to do that 100 times and get 100 reels than it is to sit down, script, write, and make all of this content. So let me actually show you how just 1 hour a week live can give you content for months. And if you follow this structure, you will never ever have to create any content again. Let me show you how it works. So live streaming for 1 hour a week is similar to having like a 1 hour webinar every single week in terms of revenue. In terms of preparation, it's more like having a content day a week. The purpose is to get sales and the purpose is to get content, so you don't have to then also spend time creating content. Now the core pillar here and the thing that moves everything is the actual live stream. This is what we want to focus our energy on. And from there, we can sprout content in different directions. So right now you may be posting, let's say you are active on Instagram, you're active on YouTube. So you have a short form platform and a long form platform. So on YouTube, what do we have on YouTube? We got YouTube Shorts and we got YouTube long form. And then on IG, what do we have? We have obviously Reels, which is the main thing. And then we have the carousels. I don't even know if I know how to spell carousels. And if you want to get really freaky, we could also add in threads right here and community post over here. So what we're looking at here is 6 different content formats, but they all kind of fall into the same few categories. So we have red for written content, and we have green right here for video content. And then carousels is kind of a combination of both. It can be snapshots, screenshots of a video, and it can also just be a black background. It can be any background and then just text. Now, what most people do when they want this content, they want these written posts, they want these short form pieces of content, long form pieces of content, is that they go in and create them from scratch, all of them. But when you're live streaming, right, you can leverage the live stream to get you, if you take the transcript from the live stream, you can get the written post. You can get the good moments and turn those into carousels with the screenshots. You can take out those clippable moments of you answering questions, of you providing authentic value, turn it into reels, turn it into shorts. And if you plan your live beforehand, you can go live with a main theme, a main structure of your live stream. And you can have a long form YouTube video come out of it. So here's how I turn one live stream into all of these content formats. Probably if you want a YouTube long form video, that should be, not probably, definitely, that should be the main theme of the live stream. So you're gonna, from 1 hour, you're gonna get one long form YouTube video. You could do more depending on how long your YouTube videos usually are, but I think one long form video is pretty good. So the first probably 30 minutes is going to be focused more on your long form videos. Then after that, you're going to start answering questions from your audience, or maybe some questions you have prepared already. If you already know what type of questions your potential clients has about this main theme you talk about here, just answer those questions. So you can probably get about 10 to 15 questions asked and answered in the next 30 minutes of the live stream. Obviously, we're leaving, it's a little bit less than that. We're leaving a little bit of time for you to also just interact with the audience and slip ups and that kind of stuff. But if you dedicate probably about the first 30 minutes to the long form and the next 30 minutes to the short form, obviously shorts, this right here, 10 to 15 is the same over here because you just post the same content. And if you're very dedicated on platform specific content, you also know that YouTube Short is a little bit different from IG Reels or for Facebook videos or LinkedIn posts. But when you have the core media from the live, you can take it, edit it, and chop it up in a way that's perfect, matches perfect with the algorithm of the specific platform. But you obviously get Reels and Shorts the same amount. When I say 10 to 15, that's the ones I expect. I always know that there will be a bonus because there will be clippable moments that you can take out. But 10 to 15, those will be the reels that you have either prepared or you know you're going to get about 10 to 15 questions. That's what you know you have time for. But from this long form area of the video, there's also going to be some moments that happen that is you just providing value that's going to be great for short form content. So out of that, you usually get 2 to 5 pieces of short form content, right? So in total, about 12 to 17 pieces of short form content. What you then want to do, you want to post those because those are going to give you the feedback on what's actually the best type of content. And whatever is performing, that's what you turn into your other post. So whatever, when you take these right here, and you take these right here, and then you take the high performers, and then you turn the high performers into carousels. You turn it into all the way up here for the written post. And additionally, from there, if you really want to be creating content, right? Because I even do it sometimes too, even though I don't have to, because I have enough time, have enough content from the actual live stream. I only create content of proven concepts, meaning I'm going to take content from my live stream of authentic moments of me providing value, and now I'm going to post them as trial reels. I'm going to post them as normal reels. I'm going to post carousels if they perform well, but only the best performing content is going to be the ones that the market is telling me, this is good content, this is what we're looking for, this type of messaging and communication resonates. And then I'm going to take those, and then I'm going to create content. I'm going to actually maybe make a reel or maybe make a YouTube video where I go in more in depth on whatever was working from that video. And that allows me to only create content that I know, that's a bad circle. That allows me to only create content that I know will perform because it's already proven, and already proven with my audience, not just somebody else went viral with this video idea. It's my audience telling me this is the type of content that we want. Make more of this. And then you can put a little bit more effort into those videos because you know they'll perform. Now, I don't have to, obviously. I'll have almost 20 pieces of social media content if we include written posts and carousels. I don't have to create additional content, but I do want to, because if I know there's something that's already working based on a little piece of content that was clipped from a live stream, if I go in depth on that piece of content, I will get tremendous returns. And that's the only time I'm creating content, is if I know it's already going to work. That's a good investment of your time compared to scrolling social media and finding content ideas, then copying somebody else's script. That is long overdue, because people know this now. They know that the more you post, the more you grow. But the problem is, the more time you spend creating, the less you'll probably be making. Because if you spend all your time creating content, you won't be able to do the amount of volume that you want. You won't be able to have enough time to also take care of your clients and do other stuff in your business. So I still create content from time to time, but it's very leveraged in my approach. It's only proven content, and I don't have to reinvent the reel every single time. I just got to go more in depth on an idea that's already proven. And that's my high leverage way of creating content. Most of it comes from the actual live stream. And I think that's what you got to look for if you're trying to scale a business. If you're in the beginning stage, maybe the first 10 to 15K, you can probably just rush it. Manual labor, just create as much as possible just to get out there. But once you've hit that plateau that comes after that, when you're like, I have my business, I got clients, I got things I need to do with my team, I can't be creating content all the time. And you hit that plateau where you're like, how do I actually grow from here? That's where you got to start applying more leverage to the things you do. And that's when stuff like live content becomes very, very valuable. Now, this is obviously not a leveraged approach if you don't build a team around it, because if you're doing everything yourself, I guess it's a little bit more leverage, but it's not that valuable. You don't want to be taking all of those pieces of content yourself and editing them yourself, especially if you are busy with your business. You want somebody else to do it. And that's what the people with the biggest brands, that's what they do. They're not doing everything themselves. They build a content machine, and whereas their input is only one little tiny part of the machine and everything else goes by itself. Right now, for most people, they are the machine and they're doing everything themselves. Most people have nothing more than a video editor they found on Upwork. So let me show you how to build a content machine that runs more or less on autopilot. Now, this can be applied whether you're doing live content or you're doing normal content creation, because the principle is the same. You always got to solve the biggest bottleneck. Like growing a business, your content pipeline has a bottleneck. So for some people, you can come up with endless ideas, but editing the videos, you hate it and you don't know how to edit it and you don't want to take the time. For somebody else, maybe you're good at editing, but you lack the ideas. Maybe you lack the ability to script the videos. Maybe you lack the ability to post the videos. I guess you could also be better at posting. All the way from a new idea to a new post, there's a bottleneck somewhere. And you got to solve that bottleneck in order to build a more efficient machine. And obviously, as a business owner, you know, once you solve one bottleneck, the next one appears. So this is your content pipeline. As you can see, we have a little bit of a situation right here. We have a tough spot. And for most people, the first one they need to solve is the edits. Getting a video editor. Because you might be good on ideas like me. I can go live all the time, every day, no problem. But I'm not going to do the edits. I don't want to. I don't have the time for it. Now, let's say you solve the editor problem. You find a video editor, or maybe you already have a video editor. If you're focused on scaling also through YouTube, you're going to have a problem with thumbnails, because most likely you don't know how to create thumbnails. So for most people, like I said, The first one they gotta solve is the video editor. That's gonna be the one that's gonna allow them to increase the output and to decrease the amount of time necessary the most. The video editor. Like I said, you solve the biggest bottleneck. If it's not the editor, that's not what you solve first. But if it is, find a video editor and get that off your plate as soon as possible. Now the next thing is thumbnails. You want the video editor before the thumbnail designer, because posting videos is better than nothing. It's better to have some video. It's better to start building up that catalog before you start focusing on thumbnails too much. So second, after you're consistently posting, then you can hire a thumbnail designer. And if your video editor decides to let you know that, hey, I can also do videos, he can take on multiple roles in the beginning. Having a specialist would always beat not having a specialist, having a generalist, because you can do anything, but you can't be the best at everything, right? So if you have someone who's only doing thumbnails, he's probably better than the one who's doing thumbnails and edits. But in the beginning, in the early stages, you might need people who can do multiple things at once. So if your editor can also do thumbnails, cool, get him working on that as well. Later on, when you really want to optimize, then you hire a specific thumbnail designer. Now, in most cases, when those two problems right here are solved, the next problem is the ideas. Because you have the video editor and he can edit as many videos as you probably need him to. The thumbnails are being designed, everything's good, but now you're lacking ideas. So the third hire you do is the strategist. Kind of like a creative director, but the reason I'm not using that language is because most people would probably shoot themselves in the foot looking for a creative director, especially in the early stages. But you need a form of strategist, somebody who comes up with ideas for your live stream, for your videos, somebody that can do research and make sure whatever topics you're talking about is actually in demand and there's proof of concept for them. Now, if you have somebody in-house or you have a good relationship with the strategist, he can also be posting for you. Oh, and by the way, don't go on Upwork looking for a social media manager to be thinking, okay, there's an expert who understands all the platforms and is going to help me. No. Don't do that. Because like we just said over here with thumbnails, right? You can't be an expert at everything. So if you have this social media manager that's going to charge you $1,500 to grow all your platforms, that person is not going to know, it's not going to be in the weeds enough on any of them in order to actually facilitate real growth. Now, if you have a agency, if you're working with an agency, possibly, in most cases, they probably also won't be that good at everything, but they'll just use 360 marketing as their approach, as like to make it sound like they're doing everything, which is also cool. But you should probably be focusing on 1, 2, maybe 3 platforms. I would stick to 1 or 2. And the best approach is always to have someone who is a specialist on each platform. But in the beginning, keep it a little bit more generalized to allow you to not having to be building a huge team. So you can let your strategist be the one posting on the different platforms. Or you could maybe even let the video editor be the one posting on the platform. The person is creating the videos, right? But this is the lean growth team that you need in order to be able to scale content consistently. And remember, this is not for everybody. This is not an exact science. The exact science is up here. It's solving the biggest bottleneck in the content pipeline. Now that you know you don't have to dedicate your entire life to becoming a full-time content creator, and you can actually create less content but still post more by leveraging live content streaming. You also know what bottleneck to solve or be on the lookout for when you're building your content machine. But the thing is, starting to hire people and building out teams is probably not the best idea if your live streams isn't already generating sales. So watch this video now where I show you the 3-step system to get sales every time you go live. Check it out.